Hello. So today we're going to be talking about chapter 3, which is the actor. And I have had always wanted to be an actor since I was a little girl. So this chapter is kind of near and dear to my heart. Let me go ahead and share with you my PowerPoint here. And actors. So to be an actor, the acting profession, I used to go and do career days for my kids' classes. And I used to talk about, you want to be an actor when you get older? Let's look at it. So the rewards can be huge. You could win a Tony Award. You could win, an Oscar if you go into the movies, or an Emmy if you go into TV. You could have fame. That's actually not a really good picture of him, but that's Hugh Jackman, the guy who plays Wolverine. So people could know who you are, and that's Neil Patrick Harris. You could have fortune. They had this little book on the 20 richest actors in the world. You could have all sorts of things if you were an actor. It could be a very lucrative business. What else could you have? A lot of nothing. The rewards could be paltry at best, which means nothing, nada. You could have a very meager pay. As a matter of fact, most actors deal with very meager pay. And it's kind of the bottom of the pecking order. If people say, oh, what's your profession? And you say an actor, they're like, oh, so you beg on a street corner, right? The people don't always respect actors. If it's someone like Hugh Jackman or, Leonardo DiCaprio, then we respect them. But if you just meet somebody and they say they're an actor and you're like, oh, what have you been in? And it's nothing you've ever heard of, or if it's, theater shows that are just showing in town, you're not as likely to give them as much respect. It's unfortunate. It's wrong. But that's kind of the way actors have always been. So if you want to be an actor anyway, though, there are a couple of different approaches to acting. There's two opposing methods of being an actor. There's the external method, basically acting from the outside in, which people will do all sorts of things with their bodies to try to then encompass a character. Okay. They use vocal, physical movement, gestures. It's all from the outside to come in. And the other one is the inside out. So acting from the inside, internal acting. And with there, you want to create an inner life of the character and connect with your own real emotions, your own desires, your own needs. An actor needs to be very empathetic. They need to be able to understand other people. An actor needs to slide into the skin of somebody else with all of their upbringing, all of their fears, all of their desires, and to portray that as really as possible, as truly as possible, so that an audience will believe that this is this character. So there's no such thing as acting purely from the inside or purely from the outside. There were different schools of thought on this, but everybody's got you have to have some sort of internal mechanism when you're thinking about what your character would do. And there has to be some sort of external approach. Also, you need to be able to talk loud enough so that they can hear you on the back row. So that's not dealing with the thought process in your head. That's dealing with the actual mechanics of doing it. So there's a little of both in everything. Okay, so the external method, where actors start from the outside of the character. There is a man named Meyerhold who came up with a system called biomechanics. And these are actually the physical movements, a wind up, a stride, the arm cocking, an acceleration, a release. I know it looks like they're throwing a baseball, but it's also part of biomechanics. Okay, it's how this happens. Okay, so the external method, where actors start from the outside of the character and go in. There's a man that came up with something called biomechanics, and biomechanics means dealing with all the things on the outside in order to create the inside character. Kind of like pitching this softball, you have to work with all the external things. But actors would train their bodies much like you would train as if you were pitching a baseball. You would train intensively, and you're going to master different skills. Dancers, if they are, where is it? Fencers. Okay, you have to be able to sword fight. You have to be able to do all these things, and you have to be able to train your body well enough that you can do them. One time I played a role where I actually got to play Julius Caesar, which was pretty cool. Julius Caesar is usually played by a man. I'm sure you figured that one out. And he was in Roman times, and they killed Julius Caesar. All right. And on stage, I had to be killed by several different people. And they had blades that were, about 7 inches long. They were not sharp, but they were made out of steel. And so we had to choreograph exactly how I was going to run into this person, then how I was going to run into that person, and how they were going to stab me here, and exactly where they're going to put their arms, and all those things had to be very exact. That was the external things that were going on. You still needed to know those things in order to show a good performance. Actors have to have great strength in their bodies. They have to have command of their bodies. They have to be able to do whatever is necessary for the character and do it convincingly. So the focus is on creating a very strong on-stage presence. Actors need to be learned to be in the moment on stage. So if they are actually in a sword fight and some person moves the sword in a way that they didn't choreograph, the actors need to be able to respond as that actor really would. But it's still a mechanical kinds of thing. Okay. The internal method, okay. The internal method, actors must enter the mind and emotional state of the character. What is this character thinking? What is this character feeling? If I feel these emotions, can I show the audience these emotions that the character is feeling? So that's the whole process there. Stanislavski, we will talk about him, came out with something called the magic if. So if I were born in that body, if I experienced all the things that that character has experienced in life, then what would I do? So if I'm playing, say my character is somebody really mean, okay, say I'm playing a wicked witch, and on stage, my wicked witch, I drop my apple, and somebody goes to grab it to pick it up. Well, Gigi would say, oh, thank you very much, right? But I'm not Gigi, I'm the wicked witch. I would probably go over there and stomp on their hand and tell them not to touch my apple. That would be a decision I would have to make quickly on the stage during the performance, even if it weren't scripted. So if I lived this life, if I was in these circumstances with this particular being part of my life, what would I do? So the internal acting method was brought to the United States by a man named Konstantin Stanislavski. And this is a picture of him. Okay, Stanislavski, he worked with the Russian art theater, the Russian Moscow Art Theater. Hello. Stanislavski worked with the Moscow Art Theater, and he developed this technique with his group of actors in Russia, brought it over to the United States. And the idea is that to live the life of the character on stage, the actor must break down the characters in terms of motivation. So I'm sure you've heard the, cartoonish kind of thing. Oh, what's my motivation for doing that? And the thing is that nobody does anything without a reason. If I scratch my head It's either because I'm thinking about something, or I've got an itch, right? I do it because of something. So why would your character say or do what your character says or does? So you have to break it down and think of it. What am I motivated? Why am I motivated to say that or to do that? And everything happens on the stage for a reason. There are no accidents. The playwright did not write anything in there on accident. Everything must exist for a reason. I might adjust the chair because my character is very OCD and likes things all lined up on the same line. I might adjust the chair because I'm nervous and somebody's coming over and I want to make it look just right. There's reasons why we do things, and the reason will show to the audience. Performances are intensely realistic and convincing using this method. You believe, there are so many people that believe that the character is, or the actor is that character, that, you know, actors get in trouble sometimes. There's something called the method. It is this what we're talking about, the magic if. Konstantin Stanislavski, they call it the Stanislavski method. But when it came over to the United States, there was a group of people in New York called the Group Theater Company. And the Group Theater took these teachings and called it the method. So you will hear in acting it called the method or the Stanislavski method. It's the same thing. And it's that internalizing a character. If I were in these circumstances, if this were me, then this is how I would act. Okay, the paradox of acting, of being an actor, is that the internal and the external have to be combined for great acting. I could be very thought-provoked and thinking, and I am this character. But if you can't hear me in the back row, or if you can't see my gestures or my actions, those external things need to exist for you to believe the character. Like Julius Caesar, I could feel like I was dying, but unless the audience could see the external, motions, the choreography of the senators killing Julius Caesar, you wouldn't feel the internal emotion. You need to see the external result as well. So actors must act as if they are their character, also being aware of their technique. So even though I feel it, I have to think about, and I need to speak louder on this line so that everybody can hear me. So an actor must be spontaneous, able to act really quickly, and also disciplined. So if I'm in a tug of war with someone over this bar stool, I need to know, we need to have rehearsed it enough times where we know we're going to go back and forth and back and forth. Otherwise, we could hurt each other. So, but if the chair falls out of somebody's hands, we need to be able to act as if the character would act. They need to be able to reproduce spontaneity. So we have rehearsed this so many times, but it's got to look like it's the very first time it's ever happened when it's on the stage. So you rehearse and you rehearse and you rehearse so that it looks like you've never done it before. So it calls for a lot of training and a lot of work. There's a great amount of effort that goes into appearing effortless. And Diderot believed that it's best to imitate emotions rather than feel them, which is just kind of another school of thought. Well, I'm not going to feel that actual pain that that person is feeling. I'm just going to pretend I'm feeling it. So it's just kind of a different take on it, a different little spin. Okay. So becoming an actor. You still want to be an actor? So acting is an art form that requires training, lots of training. I will never forget when I was in high school. I just thought I knew everything. I think all high schoolers think they know everything. And my father said, you know, I see that you really want to pursue this acting thing. If you want, I'll sign you up for some acting lessons. And I remember looking at my dad and saying, Dad, I don't need acting lessons. I know how to act. Yeah, was I wrong? Yes, I knew some things, but there's a whole lot more to learn. The actors have to know how to create the character and then know what's the character's goal. What is it that they want most out of life? What is it that they want most in that moment? What is it they want most during the life of the play? Okay, so they have a goal. So looking at this particular scene, this guy's goal is to get to know the girl, and the girl's goal is that she doesn't want to get married no matter what, and he's wanting to get married. Okay, what are the tactics necessary to achieve the goal? So this gentleman could, lean over onto her like this and say, hi, how are you? And obviously that's not working. So he would then try to think up a different tactic. It's like, oh, well, she doesn't like that. So he could go and walk around the other side of the couch and ask her about something that perhaps he knows she likes. Oh, tell me about these paintings. Oh, okay. Well, that's going to get her more conversational and involved and perhaps lead to his end goal. So there are tactics, things that you would do. And if that didn't work, then he might, go talk to one of her friends and say, you know what, I really like, your friend over here. What can you tell me about her so that perhaps she'd be interested in me? So anyhow, those are some different tactics that as a person might use. As an actor, you also have tactics. As an actor, you might try these things, kind of subtly within the framework of the play. So you need to understand the style of the play and the mode of performance in order to be able to exhibit the goal and the tactics in the right way. Actors must develop their vocal and physical instruments. Okay, your voice. The voice is so important for an actor. I don't know if any of you have ever been in a play or had to give a speech where you've lost your voice, right before your presentation or right before the play. Happens to actors a lot. And because their voice is one of their most important features, they need to really work on it, know how to use it, know how to protect it, know how to use the right muscles so that it doesn't get tired, but it can still be loud. So they also have to work on their body, their physical movements. So, stretching and moving and, like I said, this choreography and knowing how your character might walk. I might be playing someone with a back problem who would walk differently than if I were playing, a character who was 3 years old. So you have to be able to know these kinds of different things, these different kinds of movements. You have to be able to use your imagination. Okay? An actor physically, vocally, and imaginatively has to be present. If you're playing this character, this young lady here, and you have to talk to this giant paper mache mouse bird thing, not sure what it is, you have to, as the character believes that they're talking to something where physically it's a puppet. So you have to be able to use your imagination while you're acting. They must be disciplined and professional. Okay, so you have to be able to perform, do what you need to do, and be professional about it, because it's your life on stage. And if you do something physically wrong, take a wrong step, you could hurt yourself. You could twist your ankle, you could fall into some scenery, you could hurt somebody else. So you have to be very specific and disciplined and professional when you're acting. Okay, so the actor's routine. When you go to auditions. So, okay, I want to be in a play and I want to go to an audition. Well, what do I do when I go to an audition? So you could be asked to present a monologue. And a monologue is basically one person acting. Normally they'll tell you that you only need to be like a minute or 2 minutes long, and you will pretend that you are that character and act out whatever your one person scene is. And then the director will say, okay, I like that person. I don't like that person. That person can act, that person can't act. Usually in the first 30 seconds, the director can decide whether you're right for the role that they're thinking of you for. If they do like you, then they might ask you to read from something called a side, which is a selection of the script. So you have this whole book script. Well, if I'm going to copy like 3 or 4 pages and just give them to you, that's called a side. Okay. A side, not a side. Okay. So that's called a side. And you would read from that particular part of the script, either back and forth to the director, or maybe 2 of you would get a side and you would go up there and you would read it together. And as a director, I would be looking and thinking, do I want to cast these actors in these roles? How well do they work together? How well do they look together? Does one of them look way too much taller than the other? I tell young actors all the time, look, if you don't get cast in something, it is probably not about your ability. It is probably more likely about the fact that you didn't fit the dress that they have, or, you didn't look right with the other actor that they had already cast. So there's a lot of those kinds of things that go on. Now you got in the play and you're going to rehearsal. So you've auditioned, you're in rehearsal. Rehearsals can be 1 to 10 weeks long, depending on the production. Okay, I've rarely been in one that is 1 week long, but there was one that was about 8 weeks long. I mentioned to you already the Julius Caesar one. And the person playing Julius Caesar ended up quitting the performance, and I had to step in and do it. And it was pretty trying, to say the least. I had to step in. I wasn't really the understudy. I had come there on a Monday because they were worried that some of their actors were going to have to leave, but it wasn't the Julius Caesar actor. But they had me go ahead and read for the Julius Caesar character because that person was missing from rehearsal. It was a role reversal, Julius Caesar, by the way. All the men were played by females and the females were played by men. So it was an interesting show. So I read for the Julius Caesar role, and that was on a Monday. The show opened Friday. And on Tuesday, when I was going to rehearsal again to try to help out, somebody called, the stage manager called and said to my friend, tell Gigi to work on those lines. And she said, oh yeah, she's looking them over. I said, no, tell her she really needs to work on those lines because we just fired our other Julius Caesar and we need her to play Julius Caesar. I'm like, what? So that was my less than 1 week of rehearsal. Typically, though, you would have, 6 to 8 weeks, sometimes longer. Usually on Broadway, they say, 6 to 8 weeks when you get the script, because on Broadway, you are expected to know the lines as soon as you walk in the door, before you've walked in, so that they can just block you and work on, and it goes at a much faster pace. If you're doing something for community theater or high school theater or even college theater, it moves a little bit slower. As an actor, you would need to research the character. Part of your rehearsal would be determining all those magic ifs. What is this character? Do they have a lot of depth to them? What can I find out about the character from reading the lines of the play? What can I find out about the character from reading what other people in the play say about this character? Maybe it takes place in a specific time period and you want to research that time period to know how people moved and spoke and addressed each other. And then you also have to memorize the lines and the blocking. The blocking is when a director tells an actor, okay, you say this line and walk over there, then afterwards you walk across over this way, and then you sit down in the chair. It's all that movement that's called blocking, and a director will usually block you. Well, you have to memorize that as well as your lines and know what line to walk on and what line to do your blocking on during rehearsals. Then comes the performance. Everybody's big night. The actors perform in front of a live audience and they need to keep the spontaneity. So remember, they might do this show. You never know. Sometimes people rehearse for weeks and weeks and weeks and only get to do one performance. I work with a church theater and at first they were doing just one performance. I was like, there's too much rehearsal goes into this to just do it once. So they started doing it 2 nights. And then now they're on to, I think, 3 performances and one of them is a dinner theater. So you at least get the opportunity to do it more than once. The thing is, every time that you perform it, it needs to look like the first time. Every time you say something, it needs to look like it's the first time you're saying it to the audience. Then after the play, they have something called a post-mortem. And no, it's not where they're like, examining a body. The post-mortem is basically a meeting where they analyze, how this performance went and how it could be improved and perhaps what could be done differently next time. Sometimes a group of actors will do this that's in a play, just kind of to debrief and, exhale and phew, it's over with. But it's very strange because being in the theater, you're glad that it's done, you're glad that it's over, and you can't wait to start the next one. And that is the end of this chapter. As always, if you have any questions, please let me know. I hope y'all have a great day.